on the button that's going to work. So how many of you here, if I were to say to you guys tonight, right, if you have this much thread left on your tires and you're about to travel cross country, when would you like to find out about it?
Before I leave.
I won't ask you any trick questions tonight, okay? It's going to be pretty obvious. I want you to just go along with me here for a minute, right? If somebody or a company was to just take money out of your bank account unknowingly to you on a monthly basis or on a weekly basis, when would you like to find out about it?
Immediately.
Yeah? If you were like, right now, of course. Right? If something or someone was to be stealing health out of you every single day of your life, when would you like to know?
Immediately.
I want you to think of this here tonight, right? I mean, this is the reason why we're here. Is it has everything to do with your health in case you don't know it. In the next 45 minutes or so, you will discover what's the most effective, the most natural way, the most powerful way, right, to be healthy and to stay healthy as it relates to having hormonal balance. And then to give you a chance, an opportunity to do something about it. Meaning that, how many of you here have ever read a great book and it's still on the night table? You know, you're intended to do something with the information in it, but you've never done anything about it. Anybody? Am I the only one? Right? How many of you here, you intended, some of your goal was to work out, and at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, there's two kinds of people going to the gym, right? You have the first person, they go in there, and it's called a corporate wellness membership. You go there, you read the paper for an hour, and then when you're done, you take a shower, and then you go to work. And then the other people, they actually put their shorts on, and they go work out for the next 90 days. Who do you think is going to get the most out of it? A or B?
B.
So you guys are going to be the B people tonight. You guys okay with that?
Yep.
Just hearing something and getting information, you might be like, oh, that was great. But if you don't do anything about it, guess what? We're not going anywhere. So this topic of hormones is, that's a great topic. Matter of fact, everybody's interested about hormones, right? They want to know about hormone replacement. They want to know about, everything is hormones. Wellness doctors in this town, and not just in this town, and around the country, they're all about hormones, right? Hormone replacement therapy, it's all about balancing out the hormones. Why is that so important? Why do people care about it? Why do you care about it, right? Why should you care about it? So there's a lot of different reasons why to answer that tonight. Great? You guys okay with that? Right? Don't be so quiet. I don't like that. So we're going to talk about different kinds of hormones. There's 4 different types, and I just want to, my goal here is not to make you an expert out of it, but I just want you to educate you a little bit so you have an idea, right? And I see which is not quite normal for when I do this class, that I see that many male in the room, which is pretty amazing, right? Because people think, well, it's just like a woman thing, and guess what? Male have the exact same problem. They have the exact same hormones, and it affects them the same way, right? They just don't know it, right? So 4 different types of hormones. Number 1, you have steroid hormones, such as sex hormones and adrenal hormones. We're going to talk about that tonight. Different types of peptides like human growth hormones like insulin or melatonin. And then you have those hormones that comes from protein. The breakdown of protein is amino acid. So you have things like serotonin or dopamine. Anybody's ever heard of that? Right, when they give drugs to people, there's serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Serotonin comes from the breakdown from amino acid. That's how you build them, right? And then we'll connect the dots as we go. And then the last one, this big word, ecosenoids, which I can't barely tell. There's many of those fat, like prostaglandin, and as it relates to inflammation, which is really, really important for all of you. And we'll talk about that tonight. If you've been in some of the classes before, you've learned a little bit about this. That's one of my favorite topics. The prostaglandin E2, which is what's causing fire into a person's body. So 4 different types. I'm not going to test you on it, but I want you to know that there's a lot of different hormones in the body. They're made out of different things. So if I were to ask you a question tonight and say, hey, you know what? Who produces hormones? Who produces hormones in your body? Who can tell me? Anybody? Who produces the hormones in your body? What does that?
Thyroid.
So this young lady, she says the thyroid gland, right? But glands in general, they will produce hormones. Your own body produces hormones. God has already wired your body to produce hormones. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Can you say yes?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So this is really, really important to know that, right? Because some of you, or maybe you have the impression, or you were given the impression that, hey, your body is just not smart. That's the reason why you go to the doctor, and the doctor is going to give you a prescription of hormones. Because your body doesn't make that. I want you to know tonight that your body makes hormones. Right? Your body has the ability to do that. You just need to have the right raw material to be able to do that. So this body that you have is pretty smart. In case you did not know, there's 70 to 100 trillion cells in your body, and it's controlled by your nervous system. And at any given time, your body knows exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. Right? So this hormone production, your own body does that. If your body has the raw material, your body has a proper function, your body can do that all day long. So I want you to know that and to stand on that the whole time that I'm going to be talking to you tonight here. Right? Your body has the ability to do that. So who produces the hormones? This is the glands in your body. The endocrine system will do that. So if you're not producing those hormones, the question is that you need to be asking yourself is, why am I not producing? Is that a good question? So you go see the doctor, they've done some blood tests, and they're like, hey, you know, your testosterone is low, or your estrogen is high, or your progesterone is low. Right? The question should be like, hey, you know, that God made me with, you know, a lack of progesterone. It's like me telling you tonight that people have headaches because they don't have enough aspirin in their brain. Is that it?
No.
Of course not. But yet people do that every day. They're like, I have a headache, I take an aspirin, it goes away, that must be the problem. People do the exact same thing with hormones. Right? When the hormones, it says that it's low in the blood test, then the first thing is you go to the doctor, he's going to give you a script. And then you start taking hormones from the outside in because you assume that your body's stupid. But I want you to know tonight that that's not the case. Right? That's not the case. Is there a time and place maybe for replacement from the outside in? The answer is yes, but it's rare. Right? That's rare. So I want you to know that. Your body has the ability to do this. So why? Some of you think, well, I'm just old. Right? Any of you ever thought that? You're like, I'm just old. You know, this is like menopause. This is like, I'm old right now. I'm really old. People come to the office, they're like 42 years old. They're like, I'm old. I think I'm going through menopause. People say that to me. I'm like, what are you thinking? Right? People think that. They believe this. I don't know where they learned that from. Right? Somehow, some way people think that, you know, that you get to be 40 and it's just going down. I'm old. I don't think you're old at 40. I don't think you're old at 50. I don't think you're old at 60. I don't think you're old. Right? So this idea to why is things not working, it's not because you're old. Right? I had this lady coming in, and just to preserve the innocent, let's say that her name was Mary. Everybody's name is Mary. And so we're going over a blood test, and she says to me, she's like, do you think I'm in menopause? I'm like, why are you asking that question? She's like, well, because I don't have any symptoms of menopause. I'm like, well, did you know that whether you're, you know, if you're a female and you have a menstrual cycle, or you're through perimenopause, or you're through menopause, you shouldn't have any symptoms. I know for some of you here tonight, it's kind of hard to believe, right? You're like, is that really true, Dr. Jean-Guy? I mean, I haven't slept in like 2 years. Right? Is that really true, Dr. Jean-Guy? I've got like hot flashes like nonstop for the past 6 months. My husband is all covered up with, you know, all the blankets, and I have none. Right? I mean, I hear this every day. So, could that be possible that, you know, you could go through all of those phases in your life, whether you're a man or whether you're a lady, and you have no problem whatsoever? You have a cycle that lasts 3-4 days, no pain, no grumpiness, no breast tenderness, right? That you go through perimenopause, that you don't gain weight, that you sleep at night, that you get into menopause, that you don't have any headaches, that you don't have any night sweats, that you don't have any, like, any of that stuff, like it's non-existent. Would that be nice? And you know what? That's possible. God made you to go through this, no problem. Your body has the ability to do that. You just got to have the right environment. And I'll teach you how to do that tonight. Right? Is that exciting?
Yes.
Right, so here it says, I just want to rehearse this thing that your body's smart. In Hosea 4:6, right, if you look in the scripture, it says, my people perish because they have a lack of knowledge, because people don't know what they don't know. There's one thing that I'm hoping for the people that are watching, for you guys tonight, is to learn and understand how your body works, so then you can have great faith into the way that, you know, that you were made. And then you can trust the ability of your body to be able to overcome some of the issues that people have, right? That you have the ability to do that. If you create the right environment, you have the ability to do that. So it says, how common are hormonal imbalance? Right, I was reading in this medical news today. It says nearly everyone experiences at least one or two periods of hormonal imbalance during their lifetime. I know some of you here tonight, you're like, one or twice? I mean, it's been like this for years. You know, I've been in hormonal imbalance for like all my life since I was 12 years old. Because what happened today is, let me just, give you the scenario there, right? That you get to be 12 years old, you have your first menstrual cycle, and it's painful, it's heavy, you're grumpy. And then the first thing they do is we're like, hey, you know what? All the little girls that are 12 years old, they all have the same problem. That's normal. We're going to take you to the OBGYN, and the OBGYN is going to prescribe you what? He's going to give you the birth control pill, right? And then you start taking the birth control pill, and all your symptoms goes away. So you're like, hey, of course my body was lacking of the birth control pill, right? And then you take the birth control pill, you do that for 10, 15, 20 years, and then you get married, then you try to have a child, you get off the birth control pill, and then guess what happens? Then you can't. It's just like, it's just not working. It just takes forever, right? Because you get off the birth control pill and you're like, I want a baby now. And what happened is people were already messed up when they were 12 years old. Now you get to be 24, 25, you're still messed up. I mean, we still have a problem we haven't corrected. And then you try to have this child, and you have one, then you have two, then the thyroid doesn't work properly, so then they want to give you some hormones, and they want to give you some medication to try to make this function, and they want to try to help you out the first 12 weeks so you don't lose the baby, right? And then you go and you have 1, 2, 3, 4 kids, and then you get into your 40s, then you think you're old, right? Because you're gaining weight, and you're like, well, that's my hormones, and I have night sweat, and I can't sleep. And then you go through perimenopause, whatever that is, right? And then you have those symptoms that you do have cycle, but they don't, they're all like, they're too heavy, or they're not heavy enough, or it's like every 2 months, every 3 months. And then you get into, menopause, and then what do you have? Right? You're going to have headaches, and you can't sleep at night, and you have vaginal dryness, and you have all those problems, you're gaining weight, and people are like, that's just normal. Do you know anybody like that? People tell me this stuff every day, right? And if you're a man, you're going to go through the exact same thing. What's going to happen is, right, people's going to start putting weight in the upper area and their lower body, right? You see that in men, that they have no butt, they have no legs, because what happens is when your hormone starts going down, when your testosterone starts going down, right, you're going to lose your butt muscles, and you're going to lose, you have no legs. And then you're going to be this big here, and then what happens is the estrogen is going to go up, the testosterone is going to go down. So you have all kinds of issues in your body, and it's the same as what ladies are going through, it's just a little bit different. So, everybody has it. Those are some of the symptoms. Anybody here can relate to any of those symptoms? Yes or yes? Yes? Many of you, you're like, yes, of course. And here you have more symptoms, which is neurodegenerative disease. So you have things like Parkinson, or you have things like Alzheimer's, right? People are we have a lot of neurodegenerative disease today that we don't really know why do people have that. But one of the things is, if you don't have the right raw material into your body for your body to be healthy, that's going to be a contributing factor. And then you have this thing, people having early dementia, depression. This is all part of neurodegenerative disease, and this is a good one right here. This thing about is there's a lot of people that have mood issues, right? In the past 12 months, you don't need to raise your hand, but in the past 12 months, have people been having issues with mental health? Yes or yes? Yeah, of course. It's been affecting lots of people, right? Because it's wearing on people. So here it says lack of health is always the cause, right? If we have more health, would you have any chronic illnesses? I want you guys to say no. Can you say no for me?
No.
Right? When you have, if your body is functioning better, if your body is functioning the way that it was designed, then your body will not be breaking down the way that it does. Do you guys understand that as we speak right now, right? If we're talking about the top 3 killers, there's almost 600,000 people that die from heart disease every single year. If you go back 100, 200 years ago, people did not have heart disease. They didn't have it. It was non-existent. There's over 700,000 people that die from cancer every single year, right? Could a person have stage 4 cancer and not know about it? Is that possible? It happens all the time. Did you know that your body goes in and out of cancer cells 40 sometimes a day and your immune system just handles it? Right? Did you know that? When your immune system functions properly, your body goes in and out of cancer cells over 40 times a day, and your body has the ability to handle that when your body's functioning properly. But when your body does not function properly, then you don't have the ability, right? You don't have the ability to take care of your own body, because then the immune system just loses the battle. Does that make sense? Right? So this is big stuff. So here it says, lack of health is always the cause. So people have to move well, think well, and eat well. So that's basically, the moral of this whole thing here tonight is, if you don't move well, think well, and eat well, you don't have health, and if you don't have health, then you'll have hormonal problem, for sure, 100%. Every one of you here with no exception, whether you know it or not. Because all of those things, the way you think, what you're putting in your body, and how you move, all have an effect on your hormonal system. And they all play a very important role, right? Tonight I'm going to have a focus. I'm going to tell you about those things, but I want to dive in a little bit deeper into this focus of nutritionally, how does that happen? Because today, right, if you don't know anything about nutrition, or if you don't even seek any information about nutrition, you have no chance. A person cannot be eating cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta every day and think that they're going to be healthy, right? Some of you right now, you're just smiling, you're laughing, you're like, darn, that's all I eat. This is all I love, right? I understand. That's what people love. They love to eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. That's what people do, right? And people are addicted to it. You think that there's addiction out there? Guess what? Food is an addiction. Sugar is an addiction. And people have it. Lots of people have it. It's just about impossible that for your body to break down, right? It's impossible for your body not to break down when you just keep putting this, what I like to call crap, into your body day in and day out. And it's still amazing that people can eat at McDonald's for 40 years and they're still standing. Think about that for a minute. Right? Do you see the line at McDonald's every day? Mm-hmm. My other office is in Frandori, and right across the street there's a McDonald's, and that's pretty amazing. People are like, well, Dr. John, I eat nothing bad, there's just a salad. Yeah, but the salad's going to look the same in 6 months if you put it in the corner. Do you guys realize that? Right? People don't know that. They're like, yeah, you can eat well there. I'm like, no, you can't. You can't. Now I understand that maybe some of you might be like, well, Dr. Johnny, that's pretty harsh. I'm like, hey, you know what? That's the truth. All of us here, with no exception, if you're watching, it's like, hey, what's the next step? What's the next one step for you? And that's what I want you to be thinking of by the time you leave tonight, when it's all said and done. What's the next step for you? Right? Some of you here tonight, you might be like, hey, you know what, Dr. Johnny, I've heard you many times in this cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. I'm done with this. And I'm like, good for you. Some of you might be like, hey, you know what, I'm doing pretty good on a couple of those, but then, I have another step. What's the next step? Because there is no way when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, you don't need to write it down. By the time you leave, you'll be dreaming about those words, right? You'll be like, okay, I can just hear this in my dream now. It's called cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. What it does is it puts your body on fire. And when your body is on fire, then what happens is your hormonal system, it's going to go like right down the ditch. And it's going to happen in about 5 minutes. And it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter how you think, how gifted you are, it's going to happen. And by the time you're going to be 30 years old, 35 years old, 40 years old, you're going to think you're really old and your body's going through menopause, which is not true, but people think that, right? They're like, I'm falling apart. Because when your body is constantly on fire, then what happens is your hormonal system is not going to work right. So here it says chiropractic and exercise, that's in the world of moving. And then you have sleeping. There's a lot of regeneration of your hormonal system that happens while you sleep. So do people have problems sleeping today? Right? Lots of people have problems sleeping. And there's a difference when a person has a problem falling asleep, when it's you have a problem staying asleep, or you wake up and your eyes are wide open and you can't go back to bed like the lion just came out of the cage. Those are all different problems. Or if you sleep through the night and you're not rested when you get up, that's a different problem too. Those are all different problems. This sleeping thing is really important. And depending, the problems that you have will determine, right, the pattern of sleeping that you have or lack of sleeping will determine what the true problem is. I want to give you a little bit of a hint before we start. Well, I guess we have started a few minutes ago, but if you wake up and your eyes are wide open, you definitely have a hormonal problem, for sure. And I'm going to enlighten you on that in a moment. So this is really, really small, and it's really small on purpose for you not to be able to tell what's there. But maybe Dan was nice enough to put that piece of paper in your folder. Maybe yes, maybe not. If it's not there, I just want you to listen for a minute. Right? Some of you maybe you've been here before and you have 1 or 2 copies at the house. Is that in the folder? Okay, great. You don't need to look. Dan, the man, says it's not in the folder. But I can email you a copy if you want to. Right? I'm going to read this for you. You don't need to squint. Right? But at the top here it says the steroid hormones pathways, and it says, then it goes on to say the adrenal. The adrenals are little glands right on top of your kidneys. They're back here. Right? Then it says ovaries, testes, and peripheral tissues. And some of the role of the steroid hormone is for stress handling. Do people need that? Right? So if you have stress, you have problem with your steroid hormones. And your steroid hormones are where? In your adrenals, the ovaries, testes, and peripheral tissues. And then it says reproduction, sex hormones. So when a person has problem with libido, right, this is going to be involved in that cycle as well. Number 3 on the list, it says energy production. Do people, any one of you would like to have more energy? Yes? Sign me up? Number 4, it says stabilize your blood sugar. How many of you here are cranky after you eat a couple hours later? You don't need to raise your hand. Lots of people are. Right? Number 5, it says on the top right here, it says body repair and regeneration, anti-aging. You know when we do classes on anti-aging, you know the room is packed. Everybody wants I want to be younger. Right? There is no way. It doesn't matter what kind of magic pills that you take that you will be younger when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. It's never going to happen. You're going to look old really, really fast, and you're going to have, guess what? You're going to have wrinkles, and you're going to look much older than everybody else around you, unless they're eating or on the same diet as you are. Right? We keep moving on. It says healthy brain function, mood, and cognition. Is brain function, mood, and cognition, is that like a big topic today for people? Yes? Keeping your brain. Would you like to keep your brain?
Yes, please.
Right?
Yes.
Most people want to keep their brain. It's scary to think that people are going through early dementia, Alzheimer's disease, Parkinson, right? And today, one disease, dementia, just one, right? Alzheimer and dementia, there's millions and millions of people that are affected by that. And unfortunately, those people physically, they're fine, right? Their physical body, but then they lose their mind. That's pretty scary. That means that you're in the nursing home, you're drooling all over yourself, and you don't know who's in front of you. How's that sound? But you know what? When you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, that's where you're heading. Because what happens is when your brain is on fire all day long, right, and you're in constant state of inflammation, that's what happens. The hormonal system gets imbalanced, and then the next step is what happens is it fries your brain. So if you want to keep your brain, we got to keep the inflammation low, right? And then here it says overall strength, stamina, and vitality. Your adrenal glands, right? Your adrenal glands are in charge of your energy, your stamina, your vitality, your hormones, your immune system. You're sleeping. Is that important? Is that important?
Yes.
Would you like to have adrenal glands that are healthy? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes. Right? When your adrenal glands are not healthy, then what happens is people have issues with their stamina, with their energy, with their vitality, with their ability to sleep through the night. When a person has problem with their adrenal gland, they're also going to have thyroid problems. Because the adrenals and the thyroid, they work together. When you have problems with your, adrenals, you're also going to have problems with your blood sugar. When you have problems with your adrenals, you also have problems with your immune system. When you have problems with your adrenals, you also have problems with stress or handling stress. Right? So here I'm going to use a bad word. You guys ready? Is the word cholesterol. You guys have ever heard anything bad about cholesterol? Yes? Of course, cholesterol is a bad guy, right? I don't know how God would make something bad, but for some reason, 40-some years ago, the Framingham Heart Study right? They wanted to find out why people had heart disease, and they determined at the end of the studies that the reason why people had heart disease and it was so rampant is because people's cholesterol was high. So from this moment on, 50-some years ago or so, they're like, hey, you know what? We need to stop eating fat. And for the most part, people did, right? We've been eating less fat than ever before, but yet we're fatter than we've ever been. How's that sound? But we eat less fat. That doesn't make any sense, right? Fat was never the problem. But they made it the problem when everybody believes it, right? So if you go to your doctor and your cholesterol is high, whatever that means, back in 1984, normal cholesterol was 334 or something like that. You want me to say that again? Back in 1984, normal cholesterol was 334. Today, they would like to have your cholesterol like 180 or less. So what happened is when your cholesterol is low, then guess what happened to you? If you're a lady, it makes you more prone to be cuckoo. And then when you're cuckoo, then you go see your doctor, and then he's going to be really happy to say, hey, you know what, you must be depressed, so we have a pill for that. Right? When your cholesterol is low, then what happened is your ability, right, to produce hormones is going to be low as well, because from cholesterol, you make things like estrogen. This young lady right here up front, she asked me when we first started today, she's like, hey, you know what, there seems like there's a lot of people that have problems with osteopenia and osteoporosis. Well, do you know that estrogen in your body has the ability to build bones? That's what it does. When we're trying to drive cholesterol down to the floor, right, to say, hey, you know what, your cholesterol should be like at 25, you know. If you're dead in your coffin, but your cholesterol is at 25, here we go, good job. From cholesterol, your body makes estrogen. From cholesterol, your body makes progesterone. From cholesterol, your body makes cortisol. From cholesterol, right, your body makes DHT. From cholesterol, your body makes testosterone. Is that important?
Yes.
Would you say? Is that important?
Yes.
Right? You guys recognize, even if you don't know anything about hormones, do you recognize those? Do people recognize progesterone? Do people recognize estrogen? Do people recognize testosterone? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yeah. But if you don't have enough cholesterol, guess what? Can your body manufacture this stuff? Can it build it?
No.
It just can't. And if you can't, that's okay. You're going to have a disease process, and we have a pill for that. How's that sound? Right? So you're going to go to the doctor, and then you'll take one pill after another to fix the symptoms that you have because your body doesn't have the raw material to be able to produce the hormones that your body needs for you to be healthy. And as a result of that, here's what it says. This is in real small. Here it says cholesterol will deliver, right, to the adrenals, ovaries, and testes, and peripheral tissues via low-density lipoprotein. Do you know what that is? So on your blood test, it says LDL. So if your LDLs are low, when you go see, you know, if your LDLs are low, you go see the doctor, he's happy. But if they're high, he's not so happy. He's like, hey, those low-density lipoprotein, those LDL, when they're high, this is the bad cholesterol. Again, in my book, this is just Dr. Jean-Guy's point of view, right? There's no such thing as bad or good. Whatever your body makes, that's what your body needs to make at that moment in time. So what happens is when a person has inflammation in the body, how do you get that? How do you get inflammation?
Eating.
Yeah, when you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. Then what happens is your body uses the LDL, which is a taxi cab, right, to deploy cholesterol into your body to go patch up the inflammation. Is that smart or is that smart? Yeah, that's really smart. Your body should do that. When there's inflammation and there's, you know, something that is broken, your body will deploy, right, whatever it's needed to repair itself. How does that sound? So when your cholesterol is high, then your LDL is going to be high. It always happens together, right? So you need to understand what your body's trying to do. So if there's repair to do, then your cholesterol is going to be higher because your body needs that. And in a way, if your body needs more cholesterol, somewhere into your body you need more of the LDL, which is your taxi cab. How's that sound? And then the HDL is supposed to be the good cholesterol, which there's no such thing. They like to see this really high because the HDL brings the cholesterol back into your liver. Right? When we don't understand, then we're just like, hey, you know what the doctor said. And what I want you to know tonight is you need to understand not what the doctor said, but you need to understand how your body was designed to work so you can be healthy. Your body is, people don't have diseases, they only adapt to the environment. People don't have pathology, they only have adaptive physiology. Should I say that again? People don't have pathology, they only have adaptive physiology. You see what I'm saying? You don't just go in a state of disease for no reason. You go in a state of disease because the environment is a crappy environment. If the environment is better, then your body can heal itself because God's giving you the ability to do that every day, all day long. So this portion here, this little piece of paper, this is like quite important. So now I'm going to show you what happened is when people have issues with stress in this country? Yes?
Yes.
Yes? I know none of you have problems with stress, so let's just pretend it's other people out there. I want to show you something. Are you ready?
Yes.
So when people have stress, now remember I'm going to define stress for you tonight because this is really important. Stress is not just what you perceive as stress, is what your body perceives as stress. Okay? I'm going to say that one more time. Some of you might know that you have stress, but some of you might be like, I don't have any stress in my life, and I'm like, good for you. But it's also what your body perceives as stress, so that's also important. So let's say, for instance, you eat wheat or you eat dairy and you're allergic to those things, then your body's going to be stressed out by it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So I want you to understand when I use the term stress tonight, that's what I want you to think of. It's not what you think stress is, it's what your body's perceiving the stress. So when a person has stress, this is what happened. Are you ready?
Yes.
So there's such thing as normal stress. It's called the alarm. So your body's going to go into the alarm phase. What happened is if a lion comes out of the cage and the lion did not eat for 2 weeks, comes out of the cage and starts chasing you, you're going to be in this phase right here. When you're in the alarm phase of stress in the acute, then what happened is your cholesterol going to be making, your body's going to be making this thing called pregnenolone, and from pregnenolone you're going to be making cortisol. Do you know what cortisol is? If you don't know what that is, right? This is a hormone that has to do with stress. So when a person, if the lion is chasing you, in order for you to run really fast, you need to have sugar. So your body's going to start producing cortisol, and when you produce cortisol, then guess what? You're going to have more sugar in your bloodstream so you can run faster so the lion doesn't eat you. You follow me?
Yes.
Right? So this is what happens. So your body's going to be producing more cortisol. When your body produces more cortisol, then there's two things that can happen. Your blood sugar is going to go up, and then your fat's going to go up into your bloodstream. And the reason why your fat's going to go up in your bloodstream is because, right, are you ready? Because your body, if you have wound, right, let's say the lion just bites you and you're not dead, you're going to need to have some repair material, so your body's going to use that for repair. And then here it says, right, this thing right here, it says your DHEA, which is one of your hormones. If you go on your blood test, you're going to see that. Your DHEA is going to start going, it's going to go up higher, right? So if you were to do a blood test, if you were to do a saliva test, you would see this happening. Your cortisol is going to go up, your DHEA is going to go up. Now what happened is, your body was designed to handle stress, but when it's prolonged stress, you know what prolonged stress is? This is like probably 3/4 of this country, if not like more like 90+%. That means that people are like continuously, your body was designed to handle stress, but not 24/7. And when you're in that state, then here's what happens. Your body's going to use cholesterol to make, right, to make this thing called pregnenolone, and then it goes down, and then your cortisol is going to be high, yes? Your cortisol here, it says catabolic hormones, and it's like the fuel pump. And on this side here, your DHEA is going to get tired, right? It's going to start going down, and then you start getting old really fast. So your body keeps producing cortisol, and when you keep producing cortisol, guess what happens? Your immune system's going to go down. You're going to start putting weight around your waist. You really don't like it, right? And when you start producing weight around your waist, you don't like it. And then you're going to see this peach fuzz, those little hair growing out of your face, right? And if you're a lady, you really don't like that. And then you're going to have those little hemangioma, their little red spot on your skin. Some people, they have it on their breast, they have it on their skin, they have it on their back. When you have that, then what happens is when your testosterone starts going low, then your estrogen is going to go up. That's not normal. But that's what's going to happen when a person is under stress for a long period of time. So you're going to see those numbers. When you have blood tests, that's what's going to happen. And then the next thing is when you have in your exhausted phase, then your cortisol is going to go down, everything's going to go down. Everything's going to go down. Right? Everything's going to go down. Right? So when people are talking about being intimate with their partners, guess what? Everything's going to go down. Do I need to say that again? Everything's going to go down. The plumbing is not going to work. It's not going to happen. It doesn't matter how many times you go to the doctor. You cannot be under sustained stress for any period of time thinking that you'll be able to be intimate with your spouse. It's just not going to happen. Right? So physiologically, this is what's happening in people's body. And who's in charge of that? Right? It's all coming from the top down, and from the top down, those are called your steroid hormones. Do you guys know that when people are in pain and you go see the pain doctor and he gives you a steroid shot, guess what's going to happen to your pain the vast majority of the time? What's going to happen to the pain? It's going to go, yeah, it's going to take care of the pain. Did you know that God's already wired your body to produce steroids? Did you know that? In case you did not know, they're made in your little adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands are right on top of your kidneys. They're in charge of producing steroid hormones. But when those little glands are going kaput, can they produce steroid hormones? No. So your body's ability to bring the inflammation down, right? Your body doesn't have the ability to do that. You follow me? Can you say big yes?
Yes.
So in your adrenals, right? Your adrenals there's many of those hormones that are being produced. So you got to be made aware of what's going on in there. Remember, your body produces hormones when it has the right raw material. If it has the material, right? If you go to a fast food restaurant every day, it's less likely to happen. You follow me? So here it says estrogen. The estrogen is, right, you have estrogen in your fat cells, testicles, ovaries, and their job of the estrogen is for uterine lining, breast tissue, slow bone loss. Matter of fact, it builds bone, stimulate brain function, role in cognition, memory, emotion, mood, stamina. Is that important? But do you understand that those are steroid hormones? So if you don't have the right raw material, can your body do that?
No.
It's going to be a problem, yes? Right? And your body makes those hormones with cholesterol. Is cholesterol important?
Yes.
But don't eat any fat, though. You should be on a fat-free diet. If it says sugar-free and fat-free, that's what you should be going after. Yes?
No.
Do you see how it makes no sense? We eat all fat-free and all sugar-free, but yet we're fat. And then we do a blood test, and the blood test is like, it's like your cholesterol is high. The doctor wants to give you this pill for cholesterol, and he want to give you this one that lies in your gut. Is your gut going to function right?
No.
But if you're running for your life, right, you're not going to have time. This is going to shut down. So guess what's going to happen? People are going to have what? They're going to have indigestion. They're going to have GERD, right? They're going to have acid reflux. That's okay. We got a pill for that. It's called proton inhibitors. When you start taking those anti-acid, guess what the anti-acid do? It's going to prevent the absorption of minerals like calcium or iron. But that's okay. You're going to have osteopenia and osteoporosis. We got a pill for that too. Right? You're tired? We got a pill for that too. We got a pill for every problem you have. That's okay. We're creating the problem, and then we have a pill for it. How's that sound? People do that every day. They never question it. They're like, hey, you know what? My doctor said, and I'm not telling you not to listen to your doctor. What I want you to use some wisdom. But I want you to understand that those bodies, they were designed to be healthy. Every one of you here with no exception. It doesn't matter who you are. Those bodies were designed to be healthy. We just got to create the right environment for them. We're going to take care of them. You got to eat well, move well, think well. When you do that, then your body has the ability to function just the way it was designed. So this young lady right here, she was asking me about thyroid hormones tonight. She was asking me about when the thyroid doesn't function properly. We have a class that's just on the thyroid, but I will just to give you a little bit of a heads up on the thyroid function. When the thyroid doesn't work properly, 5 times out of 6 has nothing to do with the thyroid. The thyroid is just compensating for a different area. So for instance, if your adrenals don't function properly, your thyroid is never going to function properly. So if your adrenals if you've been under stress for a long period of time, of course your thyroid is not going to work properly. You're going to start putting weight on. You're going to be tired all the time. You're not going to sleep well. You're going to start losing your hair, right? That's what happened to me a long time ago. Still working on those adrenals. I'm all stressed out, right? So when you start giving hormones, right? Let's talk about hormone replacement therapy for a minute. You guys ready? Hormone replacement therapy. You guys have heard that before? Yes?
Yes.
Hormone replacement therapy. So you go to the wellness doctor, and then they're going to be prescribing to you, right? They're going to do a blood test or a saliva test. They're going to be like, hey, we need to give you testosterone. Or we need to give you progesterone. Or we need to give you estrogen. Or we need to give you a combination of all this concoction. Yes? You guys have heard of that? So what happened is, when you start taking hormones from the outside in, guess what happened to your body? What is your body thinking?
I don't have to work anymore.
Right? You can go on vacation. So some of you in here, maybe you've been taking hormone replacement therapy maybe for a year, maybe for 2 years, maybe for 5 years, maybe 10 years. And your question is like, hey, is that possible for me to be able to get off of it? And the answer is like, I don't know. It depends how long you've been doing it for. The longer you do it, the more your body just goes on vacation and just like has no desire to do it on its own. Does that make sense? Right? So you need to understand when you decide to start taking hormone replacement therapy, there's no going back. The longer you take it, the less likely you're going to have to take it for the rest of your life. Now, if your body has the ability, right, to produce hormones, every one of you here with no exception, unless you have a genetic condition that prevents you from doing that, which is rare. So if your body has the ability to do it, and it's not doing it properly, and you start taking hormones from the outside in, did you fix the problem? What do you think?
No.
No, it's just like you have high blood pressure, you go to the doctor, he's going to open up the toolbox, and he's going to give you what for your blood pressure? Yeah, he's going to give you a blood pressure pill. If your blood pressure goes back down to 120/80, he will declare you what? You're like, you're doing great, your blood pressure, your numbers look great. But is your problem still there though?
Yes.
Right? It's like me telling you tonight that, you know what, the service engine light goes on in the car, you just put duct tape over it and you keep driving the car. Right? That's okay. Right? Those numbers look good. So the numbers look good, but yet we're just killing you softly and it's okay. Now, if any one of you here, you're happy with this, you know, that's fine. Dr. Junky's not happy with this. I don't think it's normal. Killing you softly is not normal. Having good numbers on your lab test when you're taking drugs that, you know, when people are like, well, my blood sugar used to be, you know, like at 500, fasting blood sugar. And my HA1C was like at 9. But since I've been taking my glucophage and my metformin and I inject myself every day, now it's down to 6.5. This is great. I'm like, what's great about that? You're still dying. You just don't know that you're dying. You cannot be taking metformin and glucophage and thinking that you're not dying and you just keep eating pancakes and cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta. That doesn't work that way. It looks better. Your doctor is telling you, hey, good job, as you're dying softly. Is that what you want?
No.
None of you here want that, but yet nobody's ever told you that. And maybe you're hearing it right now and you don't like to hear it. You're like, I don't like that. I'm like, okay. I don't know what to tell you. That's the truth. Your numbers looking good, looking better on the blood test doesn't mean a person is healthy. I need to repeat this one more time. Are you ready? The numbers looking good on a blood test doesn't mean a person is healthy. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people, their number look good on a blood test, they still feel like crap. Right? So as it relates to hormones, every single glands in your body, your endocrine system produces hormones. And if those glands don't have the right raw material, they cannot produce those hormones. So as people get older, right, if you get nutritionally depleted at a young age, because as soon as people are born now, they're already nutritionally depleted. Why is that? Because, you know, however healthy your mom was, this is how healthy you're going to be. Right? Some of you are like scratching your head, you're like, I have no chance. I'm like, well, you might have a chance, but I'm going to tell you right now that you're going to have to do the right thing for a long period of time for your body to be healthier, right? So that's important to understand that if you've been malnourished from the time you were born, and then you continue eating poorly, right? A lot of stuff that breaks down into sugar, that is either sugar or breaks down into sugar, then it's causing a fire in your body all day long, which is stress. Then from that moment in time, from the time you were born, you were already imbalanced. And as a result of that, you have people that have headaches, they think it's normal. You have menstrual cycle issues, you think it's normal, right? You have problems gaining weight when you're little because, you know, you think it's like, I don't know what people think anymore. You just, somehow, some way you're thinking, you're like, hey, you know what, I'm just like, I have bad gene. You've heard that before? I've got bad gene. I want to tell you something about gene tonight. If you've never read the book, it's called The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. I've been talking about this book, but still to this day, Bruce Lipton he's a cellular biologist, right? He's been around for a long time, and you can read about this new science. It's called epigenetics. And basically, in a nutshell, is if you were to go to a library, your gene is just like a big library of books, and you decide which one to pick off the shelf, depending how you treat yourself. So this idea to think that you're like, hey, you know what? I don't look good because I have bad gene. I'm an alcoholic because I have bad gene. I'm fat because I have bad gene. I have breast cancer because I have bad gene. None of that stuff is true. I tell people all the time, I'm like, if you don't drink, if you have a hangover gene, if you don't drink, you're not going to get a hangover, right? Do you guys realize that there's hundreds of thousands of women that have the breast cancer gene, but yet they don't have breast cancer? Have you ever wondered yourself to say, why don't they have breast cancer? Because in order to have a gene that is being activated, you need to have an environment that's going to create that, right? So this idea to think for all of you or any one of you here to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to be healthy because everybody in my family, they all have breast cancer. Or everybody in my family, they all have thyroid problem. Or everybody in my family, they all had a heart attack when they were 40 years old. I don't buy that. Because it's not true. But there's one thing that it is true. Is everybody in your family and in your generation, right? They all have been eating cake, cookies, candies, and ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, and they repeat the same cycle. Guess what's going to happen to the outcome? Say it. The outcome is going to be the same. Why would you expect something different? Right? If you keep eating cake, cookies, candies, and ice cream, bread, rice, and pasta, and you do that for decades, and you do that from generation to come, guess what's going to happen? Everybody's going to have heart disease, for sure. Matter of fact, if you don't have heart disease now, you come to my office, right? You come to the doctor's office, you don't have heart disease, we're going to give you a pill to prevent it. If you come in and you have heart disease, we're going to give you a pill anyway. So we'll give you, you have no chance. You'll get the pill regardless. How many of you here believe that, you're healthier if you take more pills? More prescription medication. How many of you believe that? Right? It's almost like a contest. People are like, yeah, Dr. Janke, look, I'm taking all of this. I'm healthy, the doctor said. I'm like, don't you think that if you'd be healthy, that you wouldn't have to take any of those? What do you think? So the objective, if you're truly into health, when the objective be, if you're taking 10 different kinds of medication, would that be to take less? Would that be a good objective? Would that be good goals for all of us? Yes. And let's say that you take none. I say to you, hey, give me a high five. That's great. What's the next step? The next step is you need to gain health. How are you going to gain health? You have to move well, think well, eat well. This thing about hormonal imbalance, when people have hormonal imbalance of any kind, right? Whether you have issues with your thyroid gland or your adrenal glands or estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, that means that those endocrine glands are not functioning properly because they don't have the right raw material to function. You follow me? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. I want to make sure you guys are with me on this. When a person has too much estrogen in their body, this is like as bad as not having enough, so people will have things like endometriosis, PCOS, cyst, cervical dysplasia, uterine fibroid, infertility, irregular period, autoimmune disorder, copper toxicity. Yes? All of those things, not having enough or having too much will cause problems. And what happens is when a person is estrogen dominant and they have those problems, which is easy to tell because usually you can tell them people. You just do a case history and ask tell me all your problems. From the time you were you started having your first cycle, tell me what happened. Was it heavy? Right? How long was your cycle? How long was it for? Right? Do you have those little red hemangioma on your body? Do you have breast tenderness? Do you have this? Do you have that? Once you go through all those questions, then you know if a person has issue with hormones. Too much is just like not enough. Progesterone is the steroid hormones that produce in your ovaries and your adrenals. So what happens is this. Are you ready? Ladies, I want you to listen. Men, I want you to listen. So when you're young, right, the progesterone is produced into your ovaries. And then as you're getting older, by the time you get into this transition, 35, 40, 45, then you're going to have less production here, and then your adrenals going to take over. Now, do you think that if the adrenals have been the adrenals are, if I say adrenal, I want you to think of stress. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to say adrenal, and then you say stress. Adrenal? Stress. Okay, one more time. Adrenal? Stress. Very good. So let's say a person's been under stress for the past 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Guess what's going to happen to the adrenal? I'm going to say adrenal, I want you to say kaput. Are you ready? Adrenal? Kaput. That's what happened. So if the adrenals are kaput, right, and those guys are supposed to take over by the time you're 35, 40, 45, and they can't take over, guess what's going to happen? Are you in trouble? Yes. Say, I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Yeah. So then what happens is those adrenals, then they can't produce. So those hormones now, they're not produced. So then you're going to have an imbalance between the progesterone and the estrogen. That's causing a big problem, right? And then you're going to have, then what people want to do is they want to treat it with hormone replacement therapy when they're 35, 40, 45, and they think like, they're like, hey, I'm all like hormonal imbalance. My body's not smart. I don't know how many ways I can just like tell you the same thing today. And then you're going to think that there's nothing that can be done besides you're going to be taking pills. Right? It's either you're going to go see the wellness doctor, or you're going to go see the regular doctor, or you're going to go see the endocrinologist, and all of those people, they're all going to do their tests. And when it's all said and done, for sure, you're going to have a pill of some sort. And the vast majority of the time, it's not needed. What it's needed is for every one of you, including me, right, is to gain more health. And when you gain more health, those problems will disappear. How do we gain more health? By doing three things. I want you to say, you're going to eat well, move well, and think well. Eat well.
Eat well.
Move well.
Move well.
Think well.
Think well.
Right? Eat well, move well, think well. You're like, oh, that's easy. It is. That's pretty easy. That's what we teach people. Every month, I'm here. For the past 22 years, that's what I do. I tell people, I'm like, you got to eat well, move well, think well. They're like, tell me again. Tell me again. 22 years. Tell me again. 22 years. I keep saying the same thing. People are like, Dr. Jean-Guy, I mean, what do you do for COVID? I don't know. You got to think well, move well, eat well. Really? Yeah. How do you think you keep your immune system strong? You got to think well, move well, eat well. That's what you need to do. Really? That's it? Yeah. Yeah. Really? Yeah. What do you do again? You got to think well, move well, eat well. How do you do that? Right? So here it says, what's the secret to have a nice transition? Let's talk about transition. When people go from, if you have a female going from a cycling, having menstrual cycle on a monthly basis, to perimenopause, to menopause, to andropause, which is men, it's a man menopause, right? We've been talking about this for the past 45 minutes, but you need to have good what? Which gland do you think is most important?
Adrenals.
Yeah, that's the adrenals. The adrenals are like, they're a little small, but they're like, they have a huge impact, right? They're small, but they have a huge impact. If your adrenal glands are not healthy, we're having problems. Every one of you here with no exception. And the adrenals are much affected by inflammation and eating sugar or anything that breaks down into sugar. Because your adrenals are in charge of your energy, your stamina, your vitality, your hormones, your immune system, right? They're key players, they're big players into, like, it has an impact on how your thyroid is functioning. It has an impact on your energy. It has an impact on your blood sugar. It has an impact on your fat metabolism. It has an impact on keeping the inflammation down in your body. It has an impact on monitoring stress in the body. It has an impact on this thing called catecholamine. You guys know what that is? If somebody scares you, right, your body's going to produce this thing called catecholamine. Those are hormones, right, that's going to wake you up really quickly, right, to make sure that the lion doesn't chase you. Not only he chases you, but you don't want the lion to eat you, right? That's what the adrenals do for a living. And for your adrenals to function properly, you need to have enough what? It starts with a C. Cholesterol, right? And when you have to have enough cholesterol in your body in order to produce, right? Because that's the raw material in order to produce hormones. Do you need hormones?
Yes.
Yeah, you need hormones. And if you don't have enough cholesterol, can you produce hormones?
No.
And how do you make sure that you have enough cholesterol? You have to do what? You have to eat food, right? When you eat food, then that's how your body can have the right raw material in order to have the right production so your body can function properly. Does that make sense? Right? Yeah. So here is your adrenal glands, they need to be healthy. So what happens is the adrenal glands are affected by a lot of different things, but stress is one thing, so most people have stress. Right? So here it says you have menopause or andropause, which is the menopause for men, and then what happens is in men you're going to have decreased motivation. Right? You're going to have lack of focus, low energy, muscle loss. Remember when I was telling you that you see people, they have big gut and they have small leg, flat butt, their legs is this big? That's what happened. When you go through andropause, which is the menopause for men, is you just lose all of that. If you were to take you take a tape measure, you put it around your butt, you put it around your waist, your butt should be bigger than your waist. Right? And if you don't have that, that's a problem. Then here it says, right, muscle loss, and then it says mood swing for both. depression for both, headaches for both, night sweats for both, insomnia, can't sleep for both, weight gain for both, right? And then people's going to start losing their bones. In ladies, you're going to start forgetting things. Maybe they do it on purpose. I mean, who knows? Right? Here it says hot flashes. You get nauseous. You have heart palpitation. You have irregular period. Right? If you still have one. It says vaginal dryness, joint aches and pain. That's what people have. People are like, yeah, I have all of those. Yeah. Can your body revert back to be healthy? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to say yes. Yes. What do you need to do?
Eat well.
You got to eat well. You got to do what? Move well, and then you got to do what? You got to think well, right? People are like, well, Dr. Jean-Guy, what do I got to do for COVID? I don't know. You got to eat well, move well, think well. That's what you got to do. Dr. Jean-Guy, I got a headache. What do you need to do? I don't know. You got to move well, think well, eat well. You need to stop eating cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, and bread, rice, and pasta. They're like, really? Dr. Jean-Guy, it's like whole wheat bread. I mean, isn't it like better? You know, you can buy 10 loaves of bread, white bread, for $2. You can buy 10 loaves of bread, whole wheat bread for $3. And when you go read the label, and both of them will say whole wheat or bleach, enriched flour, right? Enriched means the company got rich. That's what it means, right? But you, as a result of putting that in your body, guess what happened, right? People are like, well, Dr. Jean, I was really hungry. I'm like, listen, how about fasting? I mean, Jesus did it for 40 days. I mean, you think you can do it for 1 hour, maybe? You think you can skip one meal? You think that any of you here in this room would die? Right? Skipping one meal? One day? Whoa! I can't do that. Right? I'm going to die. I'm like, I don't think so. I think you'll be fine. Right? Your eyes needs to steer away from this food thing. Right? But people have been addicted. We are addicted to food. Yes? Am I the only one? No. Of course not. But it has a huge impact on diseases. Right? So those are some of the symptoms that people have. So here, this is the famous line. So potato chip, those are now vegetables. Just in case you did not know. So there's a difference between products and food. If it's food, then there's no label on it. So just in case you're like, Dr. Jean-Guy, what's the nutrition class for tonight? I give lots of nutrition class. We do that every month. Right? However, I'm just going to tell you, like, well, which diet I should be on? You should be on a food diet. What's that? Food. If there's a label on it, that's not food. Right? You're like, really? That sounds pretty easy. Yeah, it's pretty easy. It's pretty tough, though. Right? If there's a label on it, it's not food. So how would you know if you have, like, how is your diet? You just got to eat more food. This is more food, right? This here is really important. I just want to spend a few minutes on this, and then we're going to close, and, I'll tell you about some of you what might be your next step. Those fats that we're putting in your body, fats are really, really important. Remember, I was telling you about 40, 50 years ago when they did this Birmingham Heart study, that their conclusion was like, hey, cholesterol is a bad guy. And from that moment on, right, everybody and their brothers and sisters, they all made cholesterol a bad guy, right? Every single studies that were ever done, they're like, cholesterol is a bad guy. The doctor doesn't want you to have any cholesterol. He wants to put you on cholesterol-reducing medication, right? Cholesterol-reducing medication, it's a whole new sets of problems, right? People take those cholesterol-reducing medication. They start having this thing. The number one symptoms of cholesterol-reducing medication is this thing called rhabdomyolysis. If you don't know what that is, your muscle starts aching all over. It's great for chiropractic business, just so you know, right? But it's not great for people. When people are taking some statin medication, right, one of the side effects is you're tired all the time. You're falling asleep everywhere. The reason for that is because it shuts down the production of CoQ10. CoQ10 is a powerhouse of the cells. When you don't have CoQ10 within your cells, within your mitochondria, that's where you're producing that. Right? Your body's not functioning properly, you don't have the energy. So I want you to understand how the body works, and if you understand that, right, you don't have to be, your expertise needs to be in food. That's where your expertise needs to be. And this thing here about fat is really important, because when you eat, all of you here should be eating lots of fat every single day. Right? I'm going to say this again, some of you did not like to hear that, but I'm going to say it one more time. All of you here should be eating lots of fat every day. And the reason for that is because when you eat, if you don't eat enough fat, your body cannot produce those hormones. But you should also eat, the right fat. One of the fat that you're trying to steer away from is the trans fatty acid. And you should be an expert at reading the label. If you're still going to be eating something with a label on it, but when you leave tonight, you need to know where you find them. A trans fat, when you read the label, it's going to say, right, hydrogenated oil, or partially hydrogenated, or fractionated. There's 3 words that it comes under. Our friends at the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration, they're so good. The PR people are so good. I want to hire them, right? 0 doesn't mean 0 anymore. What that means is you can buy a box of anything, and on the box it's going to say 0 trans fat. But then on the label, if you put less than 500 milligram per serving of trans fat, it's okay to write down 0 trans fat.
Right.
So 0 is not 0 anymore. But that's okay, right? Because somehow, some way they got this passed, and they can just tell you what people are going to buy. When you have the wrong kind of fat, like vegetable oil, right, like corn oil and cottonseed oil or sunflower oil or safflower oil, what it does, it's like putting gas in the fire. Is that a good thing or not?
No.
That's what happened into your body. You guys have heard of this thing called omega-3 fat, like the fish oil, right? Let's talk about those omega-6 versus the omega-3. The omega-3 are more on the anti-inflammatory side, and the omega-6 is like putting gas in the fire. So then you're going to have things like fibrosis, like pain, degenerative disc disease, vascular disease, immune system problem, dysfunction, free radicals, and hormonal dysfunction as well. How many of you here like those symptoms? Do you like it?
No.
Right? So if you eat fat, but yet you eat trans fat, that's what's going to happen. But you should still eating a lot of fat, and you should have butter every day. Butter is better. It should be dripping all over your face. Yes?
Yes.
That's butter. You should have that every day. I know you were told never to eat butter. It's bad. But you know that when a mother just had a baby and she's breastfeeding her baby, do you know what comes out of her breast? All of the fat that is in her breast milk, it's all saturated fat, just like butter. God did not make a mistake, right? If it comes from Mother Nature, you can have it at its natural state. That's what we're looking for. So you want to have, there's 3 kinds of fat. You have saturated fat, monounsaturated fat, and polyunsaturated fat. All 3 of them, they're part of nature. You should have them. They're natural to what we're putting into our body. The trans fat, those are the ones that we don't want. Again, I don't want to spend an hour on this. I could, but I'm not going to do that. I just want to make sure that you understand, as when people have issues with hormones, right, you need to eat a lot of good fat every day at every meal. If you don't have enough good fat at every meal every day, your hormonal system is never going to function properly. And it doesn't matter to me what the doctor said. I want you to understand that most physicians usually don't have a big training in nutrition. Your body was designed to be healthy. That's really what I want you to know. And if you have the right raw material, your body's ability to heal itself, including, right, balancing out the hormonal system. Now, when you've taken your body so far, right, some of you are like, oh, Dr. Janki, that sounds good. I'm already doing this. What's the next step for you? Right? What's happening as it relates to nutrition, what's the next step? Is when people are putting a lot of bad stuff into their body for decades at a time, some of those organs, they're already kaput, right? Is there any way that you can revive them? The answer is yes. Could you do that with just like regular food? The answer is yes. The only problem is it might take decades to do that, right? It's going to take a long time. There's ways that you can intervene therapeutically where you can give the body raw material, where you can speed up those processes. And we can do that with nutrition testing. We can do that with, nutritionally gearing up this raw material into the body, concentrated level where the body you can speed up the healing process. So if I show you this here, I'm going to go through this really quickly. If you want to have this, I can pass this along to you, but I want to show you this. When people have had issues with their diet or what they've been putting in their food for a long time, it's going to create some hormonal dysfunction, and as a result of that, you see 2 things at the bottom. It says organ dysfunction, and then you have nutritional deficiencies. This triangle there, it happens to just about anybody that has chronic illnesses. It stems to, one of the things is this diet thing. People have too much sugar into their diet, or things that breaks down into sugar. The average American right now will eat somewhere around 150 pounds of sugar per year. Some people eat 200 pounds, some people eat less, but that's the average, right? 1 can of Coke, there's about 12 teaspoons of sugar. People will do that every single day, they don't think twice, it just goes in, right? Because people are addicted to that. So when you have those organ dysfunction because of nutritional deficiencies, then there's ways that you can therapeutically, that you can give the body raw material in a faster way so you can rebuild it, right? So through nutrition therapy, right, you can help the body to do that faster if you know how to do that. Now, one of the best ways, just in case you were wondering, because you might ask the question a little bit, right? Well, Dr. Johnny, how do I take care of my adrenals? One of the best ways to take care of your adrenals is by eating liver. And some of you are like, that's gross, right? The last time that my wife cooked some liver for my kids are like, what's that, Mom? And my mother is sitting right next to me, and my wife says to them, she's like, oh, this is just filet mignon. And my mom just, I think the food came out of her mouth. And the kids, they're little still at the time, and they're like, this is pretty stiff. That doesn't taste like filet mignon. So I'm going to tell you right now, filet mignon and liver, they don't taste the same. It's a little bit more stiff. Okay. But back in the days, our parents and grandparents, they used to eat a lot of organ meat, right? So something that is really good for the adrenals is liver, but not many people do that. I saw that on this young lady's face. She's like, yeah, this is gross, right? You got to eat a lot of fat to give rest to your adrenals, and then therapeutically you can give your body some of those nutrients to speed up that process. So that's what we're doing with nutrition response testing. We design clinical nutrition programs for people. When a person comes in, right, the first thing we do is we have people fill out this whole questionnaire that is a body system review. And as a person is filling out this questionnaire, we can clue in into which area of the body that is being the most, that the attack is the worst on, right? So there's question about the digestive system, there's question about the endocrine system, there's question about all the different systems of the body, and then we can zoom in into what's most important. That's number one. Right? I also want to circle back here for a moment. Are you ready? Now, if you did not know that, you're going to write this down. Are you ready? So those steroid hormones are made out of what? Are they made out of protein or fat? They're made out of fat. Very good. So that's the reason why you need to have fat into your diet every day and every meal. And then number two is you have this thing called neurotransmitter. You guys remember what the neurotransmitters are? Who can give you an example of that? Anybody? Who can give you an example of neurotransmitter? Those are things like dopamine. Those are things like serotonin. Right? So all of those things, right, they're made out of what? They're made out of amino acid. Those are protein. If you don't eat enough protein, you can't make that. So guess what? When you eat cake, cookies, candies, ice cream, red rice, and pasta, does that sound like fat? Does it sound like protein? No, it doesn't. It sounds like it's sugar, right? And when you eat that stuff, guess what? Your body is like, what am I going to do with this? You need to give me the right raw material so I can produce those things, right? When a person don't have enough dopamine or serotonin or that kind of stuff, guess what happened? Not enough serotonin, then you're going to be depressed. That's okay, we got a pill for that, right? If you're too happy, that's okay, we got a pill for that too. You can't go to bed at night, we got a pill for that. You're just waking up too late in the morning, we got a pill for that, right? You wake up too early, we got a pill for that too. So protein and fat. Protein and fat. And then we design a clinical nutrition program for the person, and when we do this, then you can restore the health of that system faster. So for instance, the adrenals will take 3 months to heal, and then 1 month for every year it's been bad. So let's say that any one of you here, you've been tired for 10 years, it's going to take 3 months plus 10 months. It's going to take 13 months to heal. People are like, well, how long is that going to take? That's a long time. I'm like, well, I don't know. Is that a long time to be in the nursing home for the remaining 15 years of your life? How long is a long time when you have kidney dialysis 3 times a week and you have to, it's $500 a pop every time you go, right? It's really $900, but only 50% the insurance company pay for. What about when you have a heart attack and you just can't go anywhere? You can't mingle with your family, you can't do anything with them because you have to wait for your next doctor's appointment. How much is that going to cost you, and how long is that going to be? Right? Oh no. We all have choices, right? Every one of you here, including me, you have to make choices. This is a choice to be healthy. Is that going to require some work? The answer is yes. Is that fun? I mean, I don't know. I'd like to have more fun if I'm healthy than if I'm sick. I don't know. Just think about that for a minute. Right? Would you like to have fun until your last day? Some of you here might be like, well, I'm going to die anyway. I'm like, you're right. You will die. There's only two things we know for sure: is we're going to pay tax and we're going to die. Right? When you die does not matter, is while you're here, and you're going to be like here 100% all the way to the end. What do you think? Which one would you like? Right? Nobody's ever argued with me on that. They're like, oh no, I really I'd like to be like in a nursing home drooling all over myself for 15 years. People don't say that. Right? They might joke about it, but they really don't say that. I mean, especially if they know somebody that is doing that. Nobody wants that. You know, when it comes down to your health, it's completely up to you because that's your health. You decide that. You have the freedom to decide that. But I want you to think for a minute, whatever problems that you have, you don't do anything about it, you just wait. And you wait for another 6 months or another year, maybe 2 years. Then what? You think it's going to be better or worse? What do you think?
Worse.
Yeah, it's going to be worse. Knowing that something could have been done. That's a big difference. Right? That's a big difference. Somebody just told me last month that they just decide that, you know, they would go to have an evaluation at their wellness doctor, right? Their first evaluation is going to be $1,300. It's first evaluation. You have to do some blood tests and all that. And the chances are, when it's all said and done, right? What's going to be prescribed is hormone replacement therapy, right? Hormones from the outside in. Maybe a few synthetic vitamins. And then we're going to mix that up to give you a few medication because we think that some of them are really necessary, right? And then we just call it good. This is like wellness. And I want you to know tonight that, not to say that some people taking medication, it's not life-saving. I did not say that. Because medication can save people's lives, for sure. But as it relates to chronic illnesses, none of you here in this room deserve, or if you're watching, that you deserve to take medication for chronic illnesses. If you choose to, right, you have the ability to reverse that. So when a person comes to our office, when we have the first evaluation, it's almost embarrassing, you know, to tell people that, you know, for the first two visits, if we don't know the person, we'll charge them $200, you know, for the first visit and second visit, until we report to them, right? Knowing that we have the ability to reverse those chronic illnesses. And if I were to ask any one of you here and say, hey, you know what, how much you think that'd be worth to a person to be able to reverse that? Or to know that they're never going to have to deal with that. When people come to one of our classes, just like you're here tonight, right, I tell people, I'm like, hey, you know what, you can sign up for an appointment to have those evaluations done, and we charge $65 to do that. And the reason why I do this is because, guess what, if you didn't care about your health, most likely you wouldn't be here tonight. Matter of fact, I don't even know why you're here. It's freezing cold here and it's warmer outside. 60 degrees. Think about that for a minute. Right? If you didn't care about your health, you wouldn't be here. That's the reason why I want you to give you the opportunity, just like, hey, you know what, what's my next step? If that's your next step here, right? I think there's Brandy here?
Yeah, she is.
So Brandy's at the back. She's the one who's gonna, if you want to sign up for your appointment, you can do that with Brandy. She'll tell you exactly what you need to do. So, thank you for being here. I'm going to be here and answer all the questions that you guys have before I go. I promise I'm not going to leave until I'm done answering your question, even if it doesn't relate to some of those hormone business. Okay?